What's up, everybody? Welcome to the TCG Scrubs podcast with a special guest. We'll start off with Colin first. We just got Colin. Meh, he's just Colin. And then we actually have Lee from our locals, and we work together too. So we were down a Joey, so I invited Lee on. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
But you're the one who we talked about just a couple weeks ago. You won the little ARG thing that we held for the playmat, running guild, right?
Correct.
Was it fun?
What do we have? Like 12 people?
Yeah, 12 players.
Yeah, it was fun. Wish there's a little bit more variation in what we were playing, but all in all, it was still a good time.
Yeah. And oh, go ahead, Colin.
No, I was say yeah. Well, it's hard to tell. I didn't really actually see the breakdown, but of rulers and decks and stuff like that. But Oscar was kind of taking two known decks and was like, "What if I put these together?"
Sometimes it works.
Smoosh, smushed them together.
I know top was me with Gil, and then everybody else was Hanzo, Alter, Lich, Alter, and Lucifer, John, Alter.
Yeah. Do you think Gil is like a necessary evil? Like he needs to be within the format to make it so it's not all just Alter decks in the top?
I would say yes and no. Because if he's not there, it's just the same for the most part. He's just another deck you can play, and if you're smart about it, you're able to counter the Alter plays that people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, because no one likes having all their stones disappear on turn 3 then doing nothing. But also no one likes when you negate and cancel all of their effects and they do nothing. So, you get to pick one.
Yeah. It's nasty too. I hate it. You're just like, I'm gonna remove one, and then I'm gonna get these two, and I'm gonna shuffle it back in. What answer did I need to get? Oh yeah, here it is.
Yeah, it takes a bit of more focus and know what's going on and what you need at that moment. But all in all, it's still not too hard to pilot. It's a fun deck though.
What skill level would you say a player needs to be at to be able to pilot that deck successfully?
Successfully, intermediate or higher, I'd say. I would definitely not recommend it for any beginners. So long as you know what you're going up against and you know what's there in the tournament, you should be able to handle most situations accordingly and pick the right card for the right situation using Gil's J-side effect.
Yeah. And then going forward, you've seen some of the cards from the set so far. Does he still hold against everything that's in there?
I think it'd still be a stable setup. The one thing I know with my deck is that any kind of really fast, aggressive swarm tactics might be an issue, but it looks like we're not going to see that yet. Mm-hmm. Maybe Chimimi might be able to do it.
Does machines ever give you a hard time? Because I think swarm. I think machines usually. Because as a Brunhild player, I made sure to go back to main decking Odin's Judgment because of machine decks.
Yeah, I did play against what's his name, Nathan.
Yeah,
Nathan, who was playing machines, and they can be an issue if they're able to get most of their stuff and just swing with lots of dudes who are relatively strong, 600 to 700 or higher. Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful and play around that. I didn't have anything in my sideboard at the time to really stop that, but I still managed to get a win against him anyway. Mm-hmm. I did not play Colin. Colin might have dealt with it differently.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see that matchup. Maybe we could record that sometime before the new stuff comes out. See how that goes.
Colin, we haven't played with the machine and Gil yet, have we?
No, not yet. Just the pandas.
I believe I was playing machines before the set came out with Shayla. That's what it was.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like machines. I think they're pretty smooth right now, or consistency wise and everything like that. But I'm pretty excited for the new stuff as well. I think is going to add like a little bit of the punch, and especially with that other one that draws cards and stuff like that, it'll add more consistency to the deck as well. So I'm pretty excited to see what happens with machines.
Yeah, they're getting some nice support so far.
Before we get too far, I'm going to give a shout out to one of our sponsors for the channel. Is Happy Little Hook Factory. You guys are interested in picking up pre-orders for the new product coming out soon. You can check out the link in the description below for that. They sell them at $8 a box, and about 50 boxes left. I'm not sure they still have that or there's less now, but you can head that way. Also, they had at one point pauper decks, or as people would call it now, commoner decks, for was it Shayla and Panda, as well as Gil. In case you guys are looking to pick up one of those Gil decks, I think it has quite a few good cards you can use towards assembling whatever a good Gil list would be. And then they also have the pre-orders for the new Casters Chronicle set, which is Polar Knights. It's a cool little set, recycling some of the old artwork from Force of Will in it to make up for some of their cards as well. And everything in the link and description below. And then also to our patrons over at patreon.com/TCG Scrubs, who help us upgrade all this stuff and make things, nice and shiny and, well put together for the most part. As well as some cool, we create some cool content over there for deck profiles, gameplay between Joey and I, as well as, the Patreon podcast. So I'm going to head that way and help support us and everything we do here. And that'd be awesome. I was going to say, do that real quick because the new set, we see how Gil matches up against everything. Do you see any necessary bans immediately that would help even out a playing field? Because one thing that people love the most is going to be even, fair ruler distribution, which we've had at certain points in the format, even in Valhalla. To get that to where it's like, oh, it's not just Gil. Gil can win, but it's not just him. And it's also not like all alter decks. Like, what are some key cards that you feel need to be hit to make that possible?
So that's a tough question because basically if you hit one or two things, it stops a bunch of combos and just makes it so people can't play that archetype anymore.
Yeah, it kind of ripple effect.
Yeah, for the most part, I don't think alter is too strong. It's just the cards that you can sack for alter are the ones that are having more of an issue because it's so easy to get them and then gain advantage from it.
So is the issue the ones that have the enter ability when you search for them, or the ones that have leave abilities when you sack in on response to it?
It's mainly Layla and Zombie Horde. One costs that the whole reason they're in your deck is because they are cheap things you can throw out there and immediately sacrifice.
Yeah.
With the skeleton, is it skeleton horde or zombie horde?
Skeleton horde.
Skeleton horde giving you 2 for 1, and Layla giving you almost as well a 2 for 1 since you get a stone to play something else.
What about a situation where it's like because I also see it just as maybe alter only issue. Like if Layla's in the field or skeleton horde's in the field, like how many ways are there to actually kill them or guarantee killing them besides my opponent swinging at me or doing damage to them? Like to me, it could also just be strictly alter because it's like if I don't have either of those cards, but I have like say 3 resonators in the field, and I go, okay, Colin, your turn, and Colin's like, cool, I'm gonna do this thing to wipe your field. I'm like, well, in response, I'm gonna sack them all to alter. Okay, your card fizzles because there's no targets in the field, and he's like, okay, well, this and that. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna sack alter. Now I'm gonna search for this 3 cost because I sacked 3 resonators. Like, do you think it's just alter though? Like with alter gone, are the other ones as good as they were before?
Yeah. So. You do bring up a good point with that. If alter was gone, they wouldn't be as strong. They'd still be like pretty good blockers. Other than that, I can't think off the top of my head of any other outlets to get Layla's effect as easy. So you could just get rid of alter, but it was a neat and fun card concept. If you didn't gain advantage by losing something in the process for sacking to alter, it would have been a more balanced card. As with your situation, it's like, yeah, I have three. Oh, well, I'll kill all of them. Well, I'll sack them all. It's like my job still got done, but since you had that addition, now you get something from your deck out that's a 3 cost or more if you use more counters.
Yeah, I like the version of the field card that was the inverted one, where the other side, it was the same thing. You banish a resonator, and if you do, you give something -2/-2. I think that was a pretty fair trade-off for that one. And it required build up in order to flip it over to the side that had that effect as well. And I really like that effect and everything, but I think this one, it's the same cost as that edition. I believe the other edition is 2, plus it has to flip. But this one's just like, objectively better than that. But I thought the -2/-2 was a much more like balanced version of that effect.
Yeah.
Rather than getting this free search mechanic.
Do you remember what that was called?
What was it called, Oscar?
The one that's an inverse card, right?
Yeah.
No, but it was also an altar.
Was it an altar?
Mm-hmm. Pretty sure.
I'm blanking on it. Yeah.
Was it just like Altar of Darkness or something?
Here, I'll look it up. But what are some other cards that were on your list of things that we could do without?
Other than that, I really can't think of.
Here, I got it pulled up here. If you want me to read it to you real quick. Life Stealing Altar. It's the front side's 1 white. Whenever you do Judgment of a Ruler, invert the card, and whenever a resonator you control is put into the graveyard from the field, you may pay 1. If you do, draw a card. And the inverse side says that when this card inverts, put the top card of your Magic Stone deck into the field rested. And then you can banish your resonator. Target resonator gains -4/-4 until end of turn.
Okay. Oh, that was cool. It had a lot of setup to get it to that flippy side, kind of, depending on the deck. And it also, you could easily destroy it before it flipped to the side where you start getting all those extra effects and stuff like that. It's not like you can put it in the field and then try and do a bunch of effects before it gets destroyed, that you have to actually Judgment and everything. And so, I thought it was a cool card.
I know it was pretty good when we were doing Seals and Draft.
Yeah, Joey really liked that card too.
Yeah, similar concept, just more balance, and not a super good effect, but still a good effect that you could use.
Yeah.
But other things to ban, nothing comes to mind that's like a really big issue.
Well, you don't think? Okay, let's just pretend scenario. We get rid of Altar, so it changes the way a lot of those decks function. Do you not find Gil to be the main powerhouse at that point? Like everybody's gonna be, well, I'll just run Gil. Like, does anything? Can anything be played? That helps diversify that top 8 of a tournament.
I will say, with my experience, Kirik is a good thing against Gil if you don't play right, because Kirik can just rush down and kill you before you can really get to your proper nice zone that you want to stay in, where you're able to stop stuff but also play a couple of cards.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing with Gil is that you're not doing a lot in the beginning. You're trying to set up. So any deck that has a strong early game can really give him a hard time.
That's true.
Because if I am just sitting there with cancels and stuff in my hand, that means I'm also not doing anything to help myself win the game. I'm just preventing myself from losing. So, but I guess it's just that if people didn't have the altar thing, they'd think of other stuff that could be run that would. No one's really sitting with like 2 cancels every turn. You have to know that they have them and try to get them out of their hand and make it so you can do your play.
Yeah. And I guess for me, curious, you kind of have a long history, I guess, in card games, right? Like, you've played quite a few. If I guess you want to name some of them.
Yeah, I started out a long time ago with Naruto and Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in like 2008 and 9. And from then on, I've played Magic, Force of Will, Vanguard, and some other ones that I forgot. Yeah, once. We don't have a community for that. I have a deck, and then I didn't do anything with it.
Oh, okay.
There are a lot of card games that I played, but they were either dead or dying. Oh yeah, Dragon Ball. That's the other big one.
Yeah.
And the former Dragon Ball card game, the Panini one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've played a lot of different card games, including this one that you wouldn't know is a card game. It's the WWE card game. Me and my friend bought starter decks that were Diva starter decks, so it was the female wrestlers. And that game is a very confusing game. It was a lot more convoluted than I thought it would be for a wrestling card game. But yeah, I do have a long history. I've been playing card games for a very long time. That's a hobby and a very fun thing I love doing. So
Yeah.
I have a background and a lot of experience with a lot of different ones.
Transformers. You play Transformers as well.
Yeah, see, there's so many I can't recall. I mean,
if you name it, he's probably played it, right?
For the Shaman King game that existed for all of one set. I've seen a little bit of Yu Yu Hakusho, but I haven't had a chance to play it.
And
there's so many card games.
And you're starting to get into ChronoClash, right? 'Cause it's something that we've had interest in because, one, it interested me initially because of Naruto, and I was really into Naruto. And now Colin's interested because of Godzilla. So they got some cool IPs they've been picking up. And then there's, of course, rumors and speculation that the next one could be, was it My Hero Academia? But we'll see if that happens. But that's one you're also playing right now. And how's the community on that one for us locally? Because that's something that Colin and I might start getting into, because I think there's been some people asking about it on the channel to create some content around it.
So far there's been, I want to say, like 6 or more people that I have seen who are like playing it or trying to play it. A few friends of mine would play it because I have extra stuff that they could use, and it's a very interesting and different card game than anything else that's been created so far. So it is very, very different.
I know the cost system works across the top for how much you can play. Do you like that system?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty unique and interesting one. It makes it so that there is a lot of thought process into what you need to play and what you should play to make sure that you don't give your opponent too much advantage over yourself. If you play like one really big thing and put it too far to their side, which lets them play more cards.
Would you say it's like a gimmick that kind of at some point people might be over it and move like so? What was it called? Age of Sigmar Champions, right? That was it called.
Yeah.
Warhammer. That one was
Warhammer.
cool. And it had a gimmick that I was totally into, like, oh, beginning of all my turns, I rotate everything. But like at some point, people just stopped playing it locally for us. Like we lost interest in it, and it just kind of moved on. Like, could this system of payment, like, or whatever you want to call it, like, be something that helps or messes this game up at some point? Like people.
The main thing that will keep this game afloat is the fact that it's not a TCG. It is a separate. I can't say it's an LCG because that's copyright by Fantasy Flight Games, and it's not a Fantasy Flight game. But it is the equivalent of what that would be. So it's not buying boosters and getting new sets all the time. You can get your Naruto stuff, and then you don't have to get Godzilla. You can only do that if you want to play Godzilla, because you can't mix and match. So it's less money, and they're still having price support. The previous game you mentioned is the same company that made Light Seekers as well, which works the same exact way. And that company, I believe, is disappearing and or gone by now.
They're still showing. I follow them on Twitter. They're still posting spoilers for the next set of that Age of Sigmar game.
From what I've seen, it looks like they shrunk a lot.
Yeah.
The company itself, that a lot of people that work there are no longer there, and they consolidated a lot of stuff. But
yeah, you guys have probably seen a lot of card games that will come up.
Yeah.
They seem interesting. Some of them catch on, some of them don't, and a lot of them are the ones that don't, and they disappear.
But I think the advantage that, like you mentioned, of the ChronoClash games here is that they aren't actual TCGs. It's you spend this much, you get this box, and you're good to go. But unlike other ones, or at least ones that I usually see, it actually will have a tournament structure with price support and everything like that. And it's cool because your store can, I think it's if the store buys 3 or 4 boxes of, like, say, the new Godzilla, they'll automatically get the like playmat and pricing for one tournament and stuff like that with it. So there's not even a whole lot of effort that needs to go into it off the bat. So I think that's something that it has going in its favor, at least for the long-term health, is that usually you have like TCG, which is like, do I want to invest $100 in a brand new card game in a booster box and get random pulls and maybe be able to make a deck from that? Or do I want to do this sort of CCG, LCG, or whatever type thing and get the stuff? But there's usually not a tournament structure. It's just if you and your friend can hang out at some point. And this seems to be like trying to marry these two different ideas, which could work out for it.
And overall, you've played several card games. Why I kind of want to bring that up is like, in your thoughts, how much do you enjoy this game? Would you recommend it?
I would recommend just because of the cost structure, and what we were talking about before is that you only need to buy so little, and then you're set. You're done.
Yeah, it's 2 boxes, right? One's Naruto, one's Boruto, and they go together, right? And it's like what, $40 a box? Or am I wrong?
35 or 30, I thought. Maybe 40, somewhere around there.
Yeah, somewhere 30 to 40 range.
But then you're set after you get that. So.
Right. And are they going to do like supplemental packs? Like I buy these Naruto ones, and like 4 months from now, there's like a little special pack I could pick up with some extra cards to throw in.
Yeah, so I know other games have done that, but I have yet to see any news saying that they will do that for anything right now, but they might.
I get you.
Yeah, the interesting thing, give me 1 second.
Legend of the Five Rings, I know, did that. That was one I remember being interested in, but whenever I watched videos on gameplay, I was like, I don't understand what's happening at all. It seems very complex.
That one's also a unique card game with how it works. I did play that for a little while and then dropped off of it.
That one's not just pick it up and go, right? Like play-wise?
It kind of is.
Okay.
It's just that the way they did it is the first starter that they came out with, the first big box, if you wanted a play set of everything, you had to get 3.
Yeah, I mean like rules and structure. Like if I just let's just say I bought the product, and I just want to be able to sit down and just take off playing immediately when I open it all. Like how quick to learn is it?
I'd say it'd probably take maybe an hour to really, like, if someone helping you or you reading through it and watching videos to really get down how everything works efficiently.
And that's Legend of the Five Rings. So how about the ChronoClash? How quick is that to learn?
Oh, that one actually is really easy to learn. I'd say you could teach somebody in like probably 10-15 minutes just how to do it.
Colin, I was gonna say the one thing was just the wording in an ICV2 article for the Godzilla one, where it said the first set for the game will include blankety blank, and so that first set wording made me curious if it meant they were for each IP or whatever they're going to be continuing to release future product for it on a semi-consistent basis.
Yeah.
I hope they do, because that'll make things a bit more unique.
Well, it would feel kind of stale if they didn't, because if you have the Naruto one, you're like, you can't mix it with the Godzilla one. So a new set comes out, and you're like, okay, let's see how this plays against the Godzilla deck. New set comes out, you're like, let me see how this plays against this new one, and you never actually are changing or updating your stuff at all. So hopefully some sort of supplemental, whether it be like a new $40 box or like $10 or $15 supplemental product would be, even if it's in the form of booster pack type stuff, it'd be nice to have.
Yeah. So this is something that we've talked quite a bit about right now. It's just because we're interested in doing it, and there's been interest in the comments for us to do content on it. I'd like to keep that going. People letting us know if this actually is something that you'd like to see us do. Going to real quick, you can't mix the decks together, but I could easily go to a tournament with the Naruto deck, and then Colin can go with the Godzilla deck, and we're in the same tournament. Because everybody's going to have a different themed deck essentially, but it all just kind of comes together in the end, right?
Yeah.
Although reading it sounds like you can do that, but as of right now, like as far as the official tournament structure with pricing and stuff like that, they might be coming out with an announcement for it, but right now it looks like they don't support it with as far as like officially. But it sounds like it should work fine, but the company officially doesn't support that yet.
Yeah, I assume that's just because the new product's not out yet, so they're not talking about it.
Yeah. So they said yes, so it might be we might just be waiting on an announcement of like how that pricing would work, because you don't want to go to that and then it's just all Naruto pricing or whatever when you have your Godzilla deck. So I'm sure it's just mainly them figuring out how that structure works.
Yeah. Do you have something to say?
No, I was
No.
just gonna say, yeah, I agree. That's
Yeah.
probably exactly what you're saying.
All right, moving on to the next one. Before I get there, I'll give a shout out real quick to a YouTube channel created by some other guys in Texas. They come out and play with us often, and we try to make it out there as well to Dallas. And that's Sam, Hoel, and Roderick, and they have a YouTube channel called WLTCG. I'll link in the description below. I recommend you guys go check them out. They have a gameplay as well as a podcast up, and I think they hope to do consistent podcasting is what they said in the last one. I'm not going to give them a time frame. I'm sure they're doing what they can when they can. But it was really good, solid audio. Like they have some microphones. They're doing it pretty good. So you guys can go check that out and support them as well. Would be super awesome.
Yeah.
But moving from here, I want to get back to Force of Will and go over the cards we saw in the last spoiler video we filmed when Colin couldn't make it. I know Colin had some pretty strong opinions on some of the things that we saw there. Colin, do you want to kind of go over that? I know one of the ones the first one was the Chimimi card. Do you have anything like around
Was
that?
that just the generic one?
It was the one where it's the eternal if you control or you rule as Chimimi and it red buffs whatever.
That felt like a generic, rare or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it was a rare. Okay, next one was the Kaguya card. Oh, look, Lee's posted them in chat for you. Next one would be the Kaguya card.
Which we've already seen, in promo form, which
right.
You had talked about on the
Not that
spoiler
Kaguya
of
card,
how
the other Kaguya.
It looks like, that combined with the...
Wait, I'm wrong. Lee's right. This is what we're supposed to be talking about. go back up.
Well,
I got it confused.
Just real quick, they spoiled the Kaguya card, which we already knew from the promos, and so like you talked about on the thing was it confirmed as this combined with Odin or whatever is that they're just reusing art for the promo cards, which I talked to Oscar today is super weird for me because it takes away the if you have the full art texture. And you have the promo, which is objectively worse, which promos are usually, not as good as the full arts, or not usually, but sometimes. But it's like, oh, which art do I want? And now it's just like, oh, it's not which art do I want. It's just like, oh, the promo is just trash compared to the thing and stuff like that, especially for the buy a box or pre-release where there's going to be flooding them everywhere. Like, those are just, silly now. So I'm very disappointed because, like, the alt arts, especially for popular characters like Kaguya, are super awesome to have. So I'm really bummed out that, and we know they have up to a certain point planned as far as promos for Wander and New Frontiers. So my fear is, as far as the monthly promos, so my fear is once we hit that end where they had it planned out from the previous owners that we're just either not going to get promos or they're going to be these sort of generic. The art, but it's the hair is green. That type of stuff.
Oh, is that the difference?
But,
I didn't even I don't even know the difference.
I don't know. There's some sort of... I noticed briefly there was a difference, but I forget what it was.
Yeah. Another thing is promos usually aren't textured, so that's another thing is you'll get a textured version of this at least if you open in a box.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that's silly.
Yeah. And I think somebody we read on I mentioned it in the spoiler video that Jeff saying that they're going to a new printer, and that ratios should still be the same for pulls, right? So it's like if you pulled like 5 or 7 SRs in a box, you're still going to pull that many with a combination of 20 possible SRs. So it's like almost good luck trying to pull them. Maybe that's why they're giving us all these like promo SRs, like buy a box and pre-release. Be like, here, we'll help you out a little bit.
Statistically, you are very likely to go 3 boxes and not pull a single SR of what you want or something like that.
Of a given card, like
that's right, a single specific type of SR, which is counter to what if Force of Will becomes an expensive game, that defeats the whole point of like why a good chunk of people play. They're like, oh, it's a super fun game and it's affordable. I can't afford Magic, I can't afford Yu-Gi-Oh, etc. And so this takes the turn of like, look at all these cards you need to order to be competitive, even at your locals, $20 a pop, or like we sell with Arwen, where it's $20 to $30 a pop. Then that's just like, it's like, why? And the whole like mantra, whatever word, for Force of Will up until this point was buy 3 boxes, get nearly a playset of every card, or every card you need. In general, you're going to get every card you need playset wise, which was super awesome. And then you buy more boxes if you want more rarity pulls or stuff to sell, different things like that. Build up your bulk. And now it's just like you're going to have to buy either so many boxes to get what you want, or drop. They're going to go up in price because of their rarity, so you're going to have to drop a lot of money to get them on TCG Player or wherever, or Happy Go Hug Factory. And so, I'm very. I was, even though it was unfounded, I was still holding out hope they were going to change out the ratios of packs and stuff like that. But yeah, and looking at the promo, the difference is she's holding some sort of streaky thing. That white streaky thing she's holding is not in the promo.
Oh, okay.
It looks like maybe some of the coloring is like light on that. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird looking.
And Lee, what about you? Do you agree with Colin on anything he said?
For the most part, yeah. But personally, for me, whether or not the promo was a different art, it doesn't matter too much. I don't really care. So long as we're still able to actually get it in a pack, and it's not limited to only getting buy 2 box promo, is the real important thing.
Yeah. And what,
I mean, at least it's in the set. Is good at least that they. I'm curious if they changed that and it was originally in the set and they changed it, or if this was the plan. But yeah.
I wonder if it's probably the backlash from the Arwen situation.
Yeah.
Caused it to be put back in the set, or put into the set.
I understand why they do it, but at the same time, I don't like it when cards are restricted to a certain event or a certain thing you have to do, and that's the only way to get them, unless they're just an alt art. That's it.
Yeah, and maybe it could be like the sheer amount of like questions and stuff that like when Svetlana held that Q&A, there's a lot of people asking about the buy 2 box and stuff like that. So maybe when she conveyed that to the company, they realized the gravitas of that, and people really didn't like it. I'd be curious. Hopefully, we hear back from that Q&A soon. But maybe that had an influence as well, because I think the timing of that would have been before this went to print. But yeah, going on to that third card. I think is what
I just want to see real quick Lee's opinion on this card's like abilities and what it does, coming from someone who's a guild player. Like, is this super duper good, Lee, especially with that other card that we're about to get to in a second?
So, yeah, we have a 3 cost that gets 2 less for rune, or 1 less for rune 2, and it enters and it cancels something on a 7/7. I think it's overstated for what it does. We have like Laurite, who was a 1 cost, and a lot of people didn't like him, but at least he was only like a 1/2. He wasn't an issue. He was just like a chump blocker later on. This thing actually poses a threat while also canceling a card. And it's also a fairy tale / high god, which are relevant in the current format, because there may be more cards that deal with high gods and fairy tales. So I do think this is way overstated for what it is. If it was a lot weaker, it'd be a lot more balanced. And the reduction on cost is also a bit much. I would understand if it costed 4, and then it was 1 less at room 2, because then it went to 3, and that's the standard cancel cost. But on top of getting a 7/7 is kind of ridiculous. It's really strong. Whether or not it'll be easy to cast because of its dual color right now, we'll have to wait and see. That might be the kicker. Maybe it will be more difficult to get a green and a white than we think it is right now.
So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. That if it was a 4 that went down to a 3, that would make a lot more sense, because this, while still super strong, makes a lot more sense just as a solid 3 cost all the time. At 2, it becomes literally the same power level as Seal of Wind and Light, but you also get a 7/7 body, which is like Seal of One Light was relevant in its format and very used in a lot of stuff, and so this is like potentially at the exact same cost getting that 7/7. That's also Fairy Tale, which is a searchable theme with a lot of cards both in New Frontiers and in Wanderer and stuff like that. But yeah, it comes down to how the dual stones. It's still strong because people are running white-green decks, so it's not like that's unheard of. But yeah, I'm curious the consistency of it, pulling those two colors.
So in combination now with the next card that Colin does want to chime in on from when he wasn't here for spoilers, Chant of Tranquility, 3 costs, a green and a void, or 2 void, Divinity 3, Chant Rune, and I'm not going to read the rest because we've already seen it. So, what did you want to weigh in on this one? I remember you saying you want to make sure me and Joey properly railed into this card in the spoiler video.
This is stupid strong.
Yeah.
This is literally a 1 cost at quick cast speed that, let's say you canceled something earlier with this Kaguya, so you spent 2, canceled something at some point, and you got the 7/7 body. So now, you can, for 1 cost at quick cast speed, let's say your opponent's like, oh, cool, he only has, let's say, he only has 1 card in hand, or I don't know. This is, you have 0 cards in hand. This is your rune deck, whatever the scenario might be. They go and they play a big card. In response, you pay 1. You filter a stone for 1. This is card automatically pays for itself. The stone comes in rested, but the card has bought itself back. Come next turn, it paid for itself. You bounce. At minimum Kaguya, you can bounce more stuff than that. So if someone say I'm playing Oscar, and he Odin's Judgment me to try and destroy everything. In response, I can literally play this to bounce everything I own back into my hand to keep them from being destroyed, if I don't want them in the graveyard. But in response to him playing this, I can bounce Kaguya back into my hand, play Kaguya again to cancel what he's playing. So for 3. I'm getting a stone, I'm canceling something, and getting that 7/7 back in the field, maybe bouncing some other stuff. And I'm bouncing stuff from graveyards onto the bottom of the deck, whether that be something Oscar has that I don't want in his graveyard, I want to put at the bottom of his deck, or something I have that I want to search out later if I have a Kaguya and I want it back in the bottom of my deck, so I can do my Fairy Tale search or some other search into my deck to grab it to cancel something later, which I think we have something that can kind of do that right now. You can do that. You can also do it to help yourself on a weird scenario where maybe you're about to deck out. That helps you stop doing that. There's like a lot of uses from this. For one, this lets you cancel stuff again. It lets you bounce stuff. It ramps up your stones. It does everything that you could want. And I think that's like stupid for 1 at quick cast speed. Yeah.
I do agree with some of your sentiments, but you just gotta remember that it does have some stipulations, but it shouldn't have let you do like everything for just 1. And at the same time, you do need to have a Kaguya. So what your turn is, the one you're talking about is going to look like is mostly is at the end of their turn, you're going to cancel something with Kaguya, go to your turn, call a stone, and then do nothing. Because you'll be at 4, which is just enough to play this for 1, put Kaguya back, and then cancel 1 more thing. It does end up preventing someone from doing a lot for 2 turns, but you didn't really get much out of it. You got to stop them, which is still really good, and you got 1 stone ahead, but at least it's not like you also draw 2 cards or something like that.
Well, and it depends on what we have yet to be reviewed as well, but I think the as far as the stipulation, I think what it should have been either this pays 2 less or the choose 3. The fact that they chose both those options you get for having Kaguya on the field, it's like,
yeah.
When they came out with Laura at 7 Disciples, I was like, why? You already have Laura. It's rewarding you for playing one of the strongest counter cards that we've ever seen in the format. And it's like, oh man, you had to go through the pain of playing Laurite. Well, here's at least a little something to make it worth your while. It's like, no, you didn't need Laurite 7 Disciples, where it's, if you have Laurite, you get every ability that exists in the game, and he's also buffed. Like, why? Why is that a thing? And I feel the same way here. People are going to play Kaguya. They don't need incentive to play Kaguya. Kaguya is you don't want a combo off of a super strong card. The combos should come off of medium to low power cards, so you get a high reward for having the risk of playing these lower power cards. You shouldn't get rewards for playing a high power card and comboing it with a high power card. Like, there's no what's the risk or the downside of doing that versus actual combo cards is, I think, my main issue.
Yeah, this needed to be either lose the stone part or lose some other, mainly the stone part. If it didn't have that, it'd probably be a lot more balanced. The graveyard targeting is still kind of hating on a specific archetype right now that doesn't even, it's not, we haven't seen the Dark Alice thing. To be able to just ruin Dark Alice's day for one, it's kind of funny.
Well, here's a question for you. Do you think the combo of these two could be potentially good inside of Gil? Because it gives Gil his ramp. It gives you a bounce for the cancel or something else maybe inside of there. And then it also filters cards potentially in your graveyard to search out with Gil later or what have you. Or whatever abilities. Do you think this would be good inside the Gil deck?
The chant specifically?
Well, combination of both maybe, because
maybe
the chant with just the first one effect might not be, or paying 3 for that chant, I don't think will be very good.
Kaguya, I could see you running it, but it's not a chant, so you can't search for her. You have to draw into her, and she requires 1 light, which you would have prepared for beforehand. So it's depending on what other cards in the set. Based on just these two alone, I'd say no. Stick with what's in the elementals and such already, and you could add the chant just as a something to do on your opponent's turn if they don't end up doing anything, because being able to call out a stone for 3 is not too bad.
Yeah,
an extra stone.
What about these cards specifically? If it didn't say a Hanzo deck, does it give Gil a threat now, or is it a non-issue to Gil?
Oh, these two against Gil?
Yeah, like some sort of Hanzo deck where they're gonna run a bunch of green-white shenanigans. I don't know.
Again, I can't make too good of a judgment just because I don't know how easy it will be for people to get both green and white efficiently and effectively to make these cards playable at turn 3 consistently. Because it may be all conditional will generations like we've seen with Isis, who generates an addition that taps for it, but only if you play her and then search for a specific card, then make that addition, and then she has to stay on the board for you to keep that will generating power. So I can't make too fair of a judgment. I will just say that, as I said before, that Kaguya is already overstated and strong, and if they're able to effectively get it out consistently and easily on turn 3 all the time, I will gladly not play anything on turn 3 just to stop your play and also get a 7/7.
That's true.
All right, we had some other cards. We had some black cards. Do you have any opinions on those, Colin? Should we pull those up, Sean?
Which one?
Invitation to Purgatory. I'll put it up right here.
There you go. So this one, initially, I want to ask you, you didn't pick up on the combo, because I guess, were you like me? Did you think it was produced red or black, not produced red-black? Because I didn't initially pick up on that, yeah.
Oh, no, I knew produced red.
Okay, because when I fed you that combo that we mentioned in the spoiler video that like Sam and Lars had kind of ping back and forth, you thought it was a turn 3 play rather than turn 2.
Yeah, I'd have to go over the combo again. I forget what it was now.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a specific reason I thought that.
Yeah. I guess for audio listeners, the Invitation to Purgatory is a 2-cost, 2 black, Divinity 3, Chant/Rune, produce red-black. Search your deck for a card and put it into your graveyard. Then if there is a card named Satan, God of the Fallen, in your removed area, search your deck for a card and put it into your graveyard. Shuffle your deck. So you can essentially just play this card and remove Satan while searching. He's then there for the condition of doing it again.
Correct, yeah. It's guaranteed for the second effect, essentially, if you're running Satan, unless you were unlucky and drew him at turn 1. But Yeah, this is super good. And as we were talking about earlier, this you were saying this basically guarantees the combo with Alice and the addition to and Dark Alice to get all of their buffed effects and buffing your field and all that stuff makes it a lot easier to do because it's able to search for a card and put it in the graveyard, which is part of that effect and stuff like that. But yeah, I think this is potentially super good because it makes itself a free card.
Mm-hmm.
And those are always something that is a thing that I don't like. But
yeah. Lee, what'd you think of it?
It's pretty strong, especially because it's free. Pays for itself. I could see you actually playing this and not having to play any red in your deck just to play for Satan, because you can just use this.
Yeah.
Because it color fixes you.
it's true.
Was to hard cast him?
I can't remember exactly.
Because I know his remove from deck part was you could pay red or black to remove him.
Well, he's already fixed that anyway.
Yeah.
But it does make it so you can run a couple of red cards, and not have to always reliably get the redstone you need, because this will fix that for you. Because it'll be in your rune deck for when you need it, along with doing what you need to do. In combination with probably a few more cards that are going to be like, oh, when this is sent to the graveyard from anywhere, you get to do this.
Yeah, because there's, I don't know if it's New Frontiers or Wonder, but yeah, there's definitely cards that say if this goes to the graveyard from your deck, put it in the field instead, or something.
One is in the new set. It's Fenrir's final form.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if he's put into the graveyard from your deck, you get to put him in your hand. Otherwise, but if your ruler is perfect Loki, then you get to put him on the field instead.
Right, and perfect Loki has to do with black colors, so yeah, that might be a thing.
Yeah, if you're able, as we were discussing, if you're able to effectively get colors that you need, black and blue for Loki, then it could be a really good card.
You can play this card for 2, grab Satan for one of those colors, and put 2 Fenrirs in your graveyard, which then go in the field.
Mm-hmm.
If your
turn 2,
if your Loki is perfect, which we don't know how that's going to be.
I guess we don't know how that gets perfect. Yeah.
It could be a 4 cost or 5 cost like card or new ruler. So.
Yeah, but it's not that hard to get to 5 cost in black right now.
Very true. Yeah, I forgot about that. We have to know what Loki and or the multicolored stuff is going to be, because is it going to be better to run basic stones on Lila, or is it going to be easier to run these dual stones that may exist or not? We don't know. So
yeah.
But yeah, totally a judgment on turn 3 or 4, and then play this if it's a judgment or whatever, and get 2 12/12s with flying.
Yeah, even if it's later, like, oh, it's after turn 5, I have to wait till turn 5 in order to pay 2 to get 2 giant things with flying and all that stuff in the field. Golly gee, yeah, that's still super strong.
Yeah,
you just gotta try not to get them into your hand. If there's some way to filter your hand back into your deck, that'd be that's all it really needs.
Yeah,
play Gil.
I thought that was a cool card. Like, I can't wait to see fun combos with it. We had one more black card that we're gonna take a look at that Colin didn't get to weigh in on. This one I thought was not as crazy. It's kind of okay. I'm just kind of buying time. I'm assuming Lee's gonna post it. There we go. There it is. Colin, you want to go and read this one? I don't know how to say that name.
I like the art on this one, but Sephira or Sephiro. It depends, I guess, what mythology this is based in, but the Blueprint of Life, which is the 1-cost edition, where when it enters the field, you can harvest or corrupt, where harvesting is drawing a card and corrupting is your opponent discarding a card, which is a nice little flavor thing going on there. And you tap and banish it to produce green or black, and if you play a Resonator with that will, it can't be cancelled. You can only play that ability if you control Athena, deity of harvest and corruption.
So I assumed this was just tap and produce green or black when you banish it, but you have to have Athenia to do that, is what Joey was telling me.
Yeah.
I like the speculation or the theories, I should say, the theories in the global group on what Athenia would be doing. And somebody brought up a good point of like, hey, I bet you like Athenia is going to be like, oh, if you have to choose Harvest or Corrupt, choose both instead.
I was thinking more so if she's like the Harvester and Corruptor, she's able to like plant seeds that essentially search her deck for like things like this to put into the field and stuff like that. That was my thought.
Mm-hmm.
But that also makes sense too, since they like giving us choices and then suddenly giving you something that makes you choose all the choices for some reason. And this is already really strong for being a one cost that you can either draw a card or your opponent discards a card, and you have a choice of one of those. That alone, without anything else, is already like a pretty decent card, especially in decks that have discards. Sometimes you don't want your opponent discard; they don't have any cards in hand, or whatever scenario is. Having the option to also draw a card for one inside of a dark deck, I think, is actually a decent, if and then you also get the ability to produce cancelable will is potentially a good side effect. Depends on obviously what Athenia is, so we'll have to wait and see for that second ability, I think.
Lee?
Yeah, it's being able to choose discard and draw is always a good thing for a card. A choice that's either I get to get advantage if you're already not in a good spot, or make you lose advantage, is a big deal for a one cost. And the Resonator being able to not be canceled as long as you have that Athenia is really good. If we end up seeing tons of easy Kaguya stuff, she won't be able to stop this turn one play. 'Cause she can't be summoned out that fast, so having this out early and then getting Athenia out and then doing that for whatever big creature you want to play, it should be pretty decent. It's not too broken though. But it's really strong. But it's an SR, so it should be.
Yeah. No, I think it'll all, it depends. Like, if Athenia is like a one drop that also does what Oscar said, where it unlocks both Harvest and Corruption, then suddenly we're looking at something that's a little bit stronger.
Yeah. I'm hoping she is around 3, just for how this card is. I don't want to see her getting out on turn 1 or turn 2 that easily. Because this also is, if you play this and then play another one, you're going to be, if you're able to get her out on turn 2 or whatever, that's putting you ahead to play like a 5-drop on turn 3 efficiently.
My prediction was, in the spoiler thingy, I don't know if you saw that video, Lee, but was that Athenia could be like a 2-cost human, so the way she actually interacts with March of the Dead. So you can do that just at 2-turn play and get 2 of them into play on like turn 2.
No thanks. Pass on that.
Yeah. But I think it's all we have for today. Definitely went the full time as usual, or not as usual. Last week we didn't. But thank you, Lee, for joining us in Joey's absence.
Yeah, thanks for inviting.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I did actually. It was pretty cool.
If everybody in the comments wants to let us know what they thought of having Lee here, I don't know, maybe we could do it again sometime. I know you had some pretty good opinions and some great. I loved it because there's times where Colin, no, this is great, amazing, and super busted because of this, and this, and you're like, oh yeah, I see that, but not this one and this one, but those other 2 points are good. I was like, oh, that was a great counter to Colin there. And you and me, we have these at work, back and forth, where I'm like, oh, I don't know. Colin said this. You're like, no, I'm Gil. This and this, and then it's done. What are you gonna do then? I'm like, that's a good point. Damn. So that's why I was like, oh, this could work out really well. But if everybody wants to let us know in the comments what they thought of Lee. He's one of our locals, so I work with him. I got him his job. And
thank you. Loving it.
You're very welcome. But we'll see you guys next time. And then if Lee wants to, you can join us on the Patreon podcast. It's a shorter one. It's like a 10-15 minute thing. And bye, everybody.
Later.